today's explainer. Go ahead and take a deep breath with me. Let those shoulders drop. If you're a busy professional, constantly bombarded by pings, emails, meetings, and just the sheer volume of modern life, well, you've found a safe harbor today. We're exploring a beautiful narrative called The Symphony of Silence, a sanctuary of quiet devotion. Let's just slow down for a few minutes and look at what true connection actually looks like when we give ourselves permission to simply turn the volume down. So I want you to ask yourself right now, and really think about it for a second. Does your relationship feel like a megaphone, or does it feel like a sanctuary? In our hyper-connected world, there's this immense, honestly exhausting pressure to make love performative. We're kind of taught by society that it has to be all grand, sweeping gestures, loud declarations, and endless highlight reels. But what if the absolute deepest, most profound healing actually comes from the exact opposite? Let's look at this contrast. On one hand, we've got loud love, the megaphones, the constant need for external validation. On the other, we have quiet love, the sanctuary, the unspoken depth, the beautiful silence. To really understand this, our source material introduces us to Ayansh and Anushka. Their relationship wasn't built on shouting over the roaring world outside. Actually, it was built entirely on the profound depth of their quiet. Section 1. The Noise We Carry, Finding the Island of Stillness. Ayansh is someone many of us might intimately relate to. His life was dictated by absolute chaos, just a constant whirl of tight deadlines, heavy responsibilities, and the relentless, draining noise of the city. But meeting Anushka wasn't like a sudden clap of thunder adding to his noisy life. It was more like the gentle clearing of a stormy sky. She became his island of stillness in a raging ocean. Section 2, Building a Quiet Sanctuary. The Friday Night Decompression. So, how do you actively build this? Picture this intimate scene. It's the end of an exceptionally brutal work week. Ayansh is so totally exhausted, he's just sitting on the floor of Anushka's living room, head resting against the sofa. The ambient hum of the city is finally fading away. Anushka simply slips into the seat right next to him, gently threading her fingers through his in the dim amber glow of a corner lamp. It's a deliberate, active choice to just shut the world out. Ayansh closes his eyes, letting out a heavy breath he feels like he's been holding for days. He squeezes her hand and murmurs, "Your presence is my favorite kind of quiet. You are the calm my chaotic soul was searching for." You can literally hear the profound safety in his voice there. It's the absolute relief of finally finding a space where he doesn't have to perform or produce. And notice how Anushka responds, leaning her head right onto his shoulder. Loving you feels like breathing, effortless and essential. In a noisy world, you are my favorite silence. This perfectly highlights a mutual, active effort. They're actively acting as a buffer for one another, actively choosing to be the silence that cures the sensory overload of modern life. Section 3, Shelter from the Storm, the train station test. Now, it's one thing to find peace in a dim living room, right? But what happens when the chaos of the outside world directly intrudes? The source material describes a rainy afternoon where Ayansh and Anushka are stranded at an incredibly crowded train station. We're talking shouting commuters, blaring announcements, just a total sensory assault. What happens next is an absolute masterclass in nonverbal support. Let's break down Ayansh's immediate actions into actionable steps that we can all genuinely learn from. Step 1, he notices Anushka's tense shoulders. He's paying close attention to her physical cues, not just the noise. Step 2, he steps directly in front of her to physically block the crowd, acting as a literal human shield against the chaos. And step 3, he takes both of her hands. Crucially, he doesn't try to shout over the noise to comfort her. He doesn't add to the overwhelming sensory input. He just uses touch, eye contact, and his grounding presence. As the train finally pulls up, Anushka looks down at their joined hands. A profound wave of peace washes over her, right in the middle of this totally chaotic station. Looking back up at him, she whispers into the small, safe space between them, "Your hand in mine says more than 1,000 love songs." She isn't asking for loud words. That physical tether to him is everything she needs to stay grounded. Ayansh leans down, completely ignoring the swirling noise of the commuters around them, brushes his lips against her forehead, and replies with this fierce, quiet conviction. "I love you louder in the moments no one else sees. I love you most when words fail and eyes speak." This beautifully illustrates how quiet love isn't weak love. It's incredibly fierce, deeply protective, and profoundly resonant precisely because it doesn't demand an audience. Section 4, The Language of Silence, Telepathic Comfort.
So what does this mean for us? Well, for Ayanch and Anushka, hours could pass without uttering a single syllable, yet they possessed a rare comfort that completely defied the modern need for constant reassurance. They didn't need to fill the void with meaningless chatter just to prove the connection still existed. Listen to her internal, unspoken thoughts. I love you in the silence between heartbeats. The text describes her simply watching him read a book across the room, feeling absolutely everything she will never need to say out loud. There's just an immense, restful, healing security in achieving that level of unspoken intimacy. Section 5. Healing in Deepest Devotion, a Private Universe. Let's fast forward years later. We see them sitting on a secluded porch, watching a sunset over a quiet valley. The silence between them isn't awkward or empty anymore. It has become heavy. It's weighted with a massive, unbreakable history of trust. By turning the volume of the world down, they successfully turned the connection of their private universe way up. Breaking the quiet on that porch, Anch's voice is filled with deep emotion as he reflects on their long journey together. Wrapping an arm around her, he says, "Thank you for showing me that I didn't need to chase the noise to find meaning. You taught me that the deepest love lives in quiet moments." That right there is the very crux of the emotional healing found in their shared sanctuary. The life-changing realization that meaning isn't found in the constant hustle. It's found in the stillness we share with someone who truly sees us. And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Where will you build your quiet sanctuary? In a world that demands you be loud, constantly busy, and always on, how will you carve out that silent space for deep, restful devotion? Take a moment today to turn the noise down and the connection up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I sincerely hope this gives you a moment of peace to carry